Okay, so today I will be refuting Garrett Sand's speech, which his claim was that the implementation of a more extensive instant replay review system would benefit the Major League Baseball. My opponent's secondary claims is that instant replay would give more integrity to the game. Baseball is one of the last sports without instant replay review, and instant replay would lead to increased attendance. My response to these claims are that instant replay is not necessary nor practical in to uphold the integrity of baseball. Secondly, that baseball is one of the last sports without instant replay review because of it not being practical, because of game length already being extensive. Thirdly, that instant replay would not lead to increased attendance because more people might not want to sit around longer just because they have to wait on replay. So I'm going to discuss my first claim that instant replay is not necessary nor practical in upholding the integrity of baseball. Challenging his evidence, he said that, quoting the Associated Press, as he quoted it though, the article completely focused around how the baseball general managers like instant replay the way it already is. And so, with the main theme being around that, I don't understand how he had any argument from that. Additionally, it went into how certain managers, including Tony Reagan's, said that the umpires are getting most calls correct, and they do not need a more extensive instant replay. Secondly, the only source that actually said that the umpires were not doing well was a blog authored by Tara Bhupathi, who is a junior at a journalism college, and she stated that umpires are useless to the game. This is completely inaccurate, as without an umpire, you cannot have any calls. There's also doubt in the authority because of her being a junior, and she also makes many cynical and biased remarks towards Commissioner Selig, as well as focused on her own personal views on the baseball. She continues to blatantly say that it would be a decent idea to get rid of umpires because then they could get rid of that salary and replace it with instant replay. In arguing against his reasoning, he stated that umpires often make mistaken calls. This once again was based off of the blog, which I found to be inaccurate. The current system was used 54 times and overturned calls 22 times. That is accurate, but the advocate forgets that these were usually for very difficult calls that were being reviewed by the instant replay. Additionally, most calls are perfectly fine without instant replay, as noted by the commissioner and other managers. Therefore, umpires do not often make mistaken calls. My counterclaim to this is that Commissioner Selig believes that most difficult calls could be rectified by having umpires meet together. And in addition, another idea is that having more umpires on the field and in different positions all across the field, such as in the Japanese leagues, would help minimize the amount of mistaken calls. In response to Claim 2, I say that baseball is one of the last sports without instant replay because it is not practical due to game length. He compares to tennis and says that the Hawkeye shot review system uses 8 different cameras. However, upon looking at the website, it said that it uses 10 cameras and each has a computer connected to it as well as a final computer compiling all the images. That's 10 cameras and 11 computers per tennis court. Now, compare that to the size of a baseball stadium, and you have a lot of cameras. While in the tennis leagues, it overturned 285 calls, he neglected to mention that there were about 740 calls that were being made, meaning that most calls were actually fine the way they were. Therefore, there's no need to have extra expenses on instant replay. While fans of tennis and other sports may support the review system, these sports are usually a lot shorter than baseball, and so the advocate doesn't take into account that since baseball already takes like 6 hours, it cannot afford any more time delays. The tennis website also mentioned that there was an issue with the instant replay because some players used it just to delay and to get a rest. Finally, moving on to the last claim, instant replay would not lead to an increase in attendance because more people would not want to sit around. Rasmussen reports that there was they took a poll on 632 baseball fans, only 632, and the Advocate says that it demonstrated that 63% of fans voted to implement instant replay. However, from the sampling on the website, it said that only 55% supported having instant replay. It also suddenly jumps and says that more avid baseball viewers would want instant replay. And I question this website because it does not discuss the casual viewer, but just the avid viewer. Because he says that, I agree that when he says baseball is a business and fan frustration leads to drop in attendance, but at the same time, just because he asked avid viewers if they would continue going to baseball games, that they didn't like bad calls, doesn't mean that the casual viewer would stop watching just because of bad calls. And as he states, he cannot factually attest to increased attendance, so I wouldn't trust this judgment. In conclusion, the Advocate does note the issues and provides statistical data on the views supporting instant replay, but he has untrustworthy references such as Rasmussen's poll and the college student Tara.
All right, structurally everything's fine, the signposting's good. On the first point, it sounds like you are pointing out that the Advocate quoted their source out of context. I think you want to make sure that you quote the context there, give us the specific quote about how the managers feel about it. I think that works pretty well. The challenge to the blog is okay. You know, the fact of the matter is that this is simply a person who's a fan, and fans are certainly entitled to their opinions, but they're not necessarily an expert opinion. I don't think that she is not reliable because she's a junior. I think that she's, you know, just less reliable than somebody who's authoritative on this particular subject, doesn't have any special insight on this, and they're basically just making an opinion. And then, but I did like the challenge based on the cynicism and bias and the way that opinion is expressed. I thought that that was okay to point out. You do seem to be kind of going through this format, you know, evidence, reasoning, counterclaim. I think you're taking the template a little too literally there. On the second point, you've got an okay challenge here about the comparison between baseball and other sports, in particular tennis. I thought that there was a good explanation on that. It appears that there's a potential disadvantage here about manipulation of the time in that particular context, and I think that that's something that could be developed. Baseball game's taken 6 hours. If a baseball game takes 6 hours, I understand why all the Dodger fans leave early. Holy criminy. All right, on the third point, the signposting's good. You know, there's a little bit of challenge on the polling techniques. I think that you could find some stronger counterclaims on this particular point. For instance, has instant replay resulted in increased attendance at tennis? Has it resulted in increased attendance at the football games or the other sporting events? What is the basis for making this particular inference? If you had any data on any of those other sports, I think your argument would be stronger here. All right, thank you.